Gosh, what day is it? Here we go again. I get my head where my ass is. Oh, it's Saturday, February 24th, 11:28 a.m. Central Standard Time. Yes, I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Somebody on my Facebook feed asked a question about how did we know what our career path was in life, period. I have no idea how old this person is. I forgot to look. I halfway recognize their name, and I feel terrible about that, but I'm sorry. I'm just not good with details sometimes. But I was thinking about when I was a kid. The first thing that I ever did, according to my family, I had a pencil in my hand and I drew pictures before I ever learned to talk. Right after I learned to walk, I started drawing. So I know that art, creativity was my first language, everything about who I am. And eventually as a one or 2 year old, how much art can you do? But I loved crayons, I loved paints, all that kind of stuff. So I could sit for hours and do Play-Doh. That morphed into, we lived in a house with a sandbox in the back that my dad built, and I would spend hours, days, building all kinds of worlds, sandcastles and things. And I remember sometimes they would let me sit under the full moon and I would look at the stars and the sky and the moonlight, and even just as a little elementary school kid felt like I was sitting with God and building sandcastles. So creativity was even my spiritual language. And I remember one summer, probably about 6th grade, I had taken reams and reams of paper, taped them all together, and built my dream home. It had like 7 or 8 bedrooms, bathrooms, and closets, everything you could imagine. It was like a mansion. It was 3 stories tall. And that was my whole focus. And I decided I wanted to be an architect then. At first I wanted to be an artist, then I wanted to be an architect, and I wanted to build skyscrapers. I remember looking at when the Williams building went up in Tulsa, watching the cranes. And even as a young adult, I love, even now, if I know they're building something really cool, I'll drive by to see what they've done every now and then, because I love it. So I wanted to be an architect. And I always did art in school, and when I was in high school, I went to Votech and learned how to do drafting. This was before we had AutoCAD. And I was so obsessed with, and you had to do hand lettering, and I was really good at it, and I practiced all the time on my lettering and my drawing skills in order to draw things. You had different weights of pencils and things. And I actually got my first job in drafting at 16 because I could hand letter so well. I hand lettered my whole resume, which wasn't that long, but they were so impressed with the crispness and I was just I could write so good. I suck at it now. I write like a doctor, but back then I was good. And I got my first job, and I worked as a drafter for a while. In the middle of active alcoholism. Everybody, if you don't know me, I'm sober. I got sober when I was 23. I drank from the age of 10 to 23. So, anyways, when I got sober, I went back to school and went into computer-aided design and would draw drawings that way. And then that morphed into over a period of years what I do today, which is I'm a project manager. But in the middle of all that, in my 40s, my kids had just grown, and my answer to the empty nest syndrome, I went back to college. I dropped out of high school for a lot of reasons, and everybody thought that I would not amount to anything. I was told that constantly. I was told you can't make any money in art in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so don't do that. Every dream I had got quashed. And so in my 40s, I had went and got my GED in my 20s. And so I went back to college in my 40s, and I decided I was going to do what I wanted to do for once in my life. And as crazy as everybody thought I was for doing it, I got my bachelor's in fine art. And I did an emphasis in painting, printmaking, and photography. I only had to choose one emphasis, but I wanted to do everything that I ever wanted to do. And that 2.5, 3 years was the most awesome time of my life, because all I did was focus on my language, my heart. And this high school dropout graduated with a 4.0 GPA, summa cum laude. I was the first one in my college to step out on the stage and get my degree. And that's not because I'm such a great person. I don't do everything right. But I pray all the time. And I didn't get that degree by myself. God took care of me. And I'm very grateful for that. And so I went to work at some job somewhere as a project coordinator, because there's no jobs in art in Tulsa. And that morphed into this company saying, we want you to get an MBA. And once you get it, we'll pay for it. And once you get that, we'll put you into management. And I mean, it was like the sky's the limit, right? So I did my MBA on Light at Night. I had a concentration in project management, and I worked all day. And I got my MBA, but in the middle of getting my MBA, the company that made all these promises, the recession hit, and the company that made these promises laid me off. And so here I was in the middle of getting my MBA. So I stayed the course with that. Thanks to student loans. Believe me, I have the debt to show for that. It's horrible. But anyways, I couldn't find a job for 4 years during the recession. Young people don't have a clue. When I should have been building my retirement, I was just literally living a day at a time money-wise. I would apply everywhere, even McDonald's, and they would tell me, well, you're too overeducated. You're not going to stay here. When the economy turns around, you'll leave. Or another place would say, well, you don't have enough experience. So it was horrible. And I did the best I could with that. I still graduated with my MBA with a 4.0 GPA. But I didn't know what the hell I wanted to be when I grew up. And eventually, when the economy turned around, I got a job as a project manager. But after the recession, before the recession, the goal was to get to whatever corporation so you could work for 20 years and retire with a good retirement package. After the recession, most companies did away with matching 401k, even if they had one, and they certainly didn't have a retirement package. And they would lay you off on a dime. They didn't care. You're just a number. And it's still that way today. Especially in project management, they'll hire you as a contractor. There are no permanent jobs. I'm sorry. There are direct hire or contract. And either one, they'll lay you off on a dime because you're only a number. You're not a person. And so that's the world that I have lived in. And I've had to find another job every year or two because they bring project managers in to handle a project and then lay you off. So it's very difficult to feel, if I am only looking at what I want to be when I grow up, if I'm only looking at what my career path is, I don't fucking, sorry, shouldn't say that. I don't have one. Sorry, ain't one. I'm really proud of you guys that became a registered nurse or a therapist or whatever you became, that you're still doing that and you've always been that forever. That's not me. Does that make me any less of a person? Because a lot of people treat me like that. I don't think so. In a lot of ways, I think that's made me one hell of a, just one hell of a person. It's made me to where I'm more flexible because I can step in and do whatever I need to do to, take care of myself and take care of my family. I'm just not etched into one little path. I just feel like I have a granddaughter that's getting ready to graduate this year. And I know what she wants to be. I know what her goals are. And goals are important. They're very important. And I'm so freaking proud of her. But you know what? I don't care if she was a trash collector. I'd still love her the same because she's my granddaughter. And if my whole self-worth hinges on what my career path is, I would have went and jumped off a cliff a long time ago. Because I don't have that. But see, I don't think that means anything. It's important, but it's not the be-all and end-all in who I am. What is more important to me is the legacy that I leave for my family, that I live my life's purpose, that I share my light with others. That should be my focus. All that other stuff, my career path and all that, that'll happen. But my focus has to be on God. If my focus is on God, then it doesn't matter if my life goes in a perfectly straight line or a twisty, windy, twisted mess like mine has been. If I keep my focus on God and I trust Him, no matter how it looks on the outside here, I know I'm going to be okay. So, if I can leave anything for my friends and my family, even people that don't know me or even people who hate me, if I can leave them any message, it's focus on God. All this outside stuff, it'll work itself out. In the end, all that matters is the love we share with our family. And most of all, the love we share with our higher power. Or actually, the love they share with us, our higher power. Because the love and grace that I've gotten from my higher power is the very thing that has carried me through the hardest times in my life. And it's very much unconditional because I don't deserve it. I have to remember every day, I remind myself every day that God loves me because of who He is, not because of who I am. And He loved me just as much, face down drunk in my puke when I was in active alcoholism, as He does with over 37 years sober today. So focus on God. He'll work out the details on what your path is. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.